Hello, everyone. My name is Enoch, and today I want to talk about what I miss about being a Christian. So, since becoming an atheist a few years ago, obviously a lot has changed. A lot in my life is drastically different than it used to, mainly in just the way I view the world and the way I think about things and my philosophy on life and things like that. For those of you who don't know or may not have seen my previous videos, I was a very devout Christian for the first 20 years of my life, up until I was basically 21, and I took it extremely seriously. Christianity was pretty much my whole life. Serving Jesus, loving Jesus, doing what I thought Jesus wanted me to do. That was everything to me. I was at a party a little while ago, and someone asked me, like, this topic came up that I was an atheist now and I had been a Christian or whatever, and they were just like, oh, how's that working out for you? And I was a little surprised with the question, and it's like, well, I mean, it's not working out per se, like, all that spectacularly. There's a lot of things that I like miss, and mainly just because I grew up a certain way like my whole life, and this is the way I was. And now that everything's changed, I lost quite a lot. And I was talking to one of my coworkers like back a couple months ago, and I was telling her like all the things I used to do when I was a Christian and how involved I was with my church. I played on the worship team, I taught Sunday school class, how much I love the Bible. I've read it 39 times cover to cover, and all the things like I did and enjoyed as a Christian. And she was like so surprised. Like at one point she's like, why in the world did you leave? Like, because I was telling her how much I loved loved everything I did. And she was like, why leave basically? And I was like, well, because I don't think it's true anymore. Like that is really the only reason. Like, yeah, I had a good life back then. I mean, I enjoyed my life, but I just don't think it's true. So a couple of the things that like specifically I miss, I would say first thing is probably the absence of being able to like pray for people and believing that like it makes a difference. Obviously, I could still pray for people technically, but I don't think it is effective in almost all cases. So that's like one of the biggest things, because like whenever someone was sick or in need or in trouble, it's like if there was nothing physically you could do for them, or like if you couldn't give them money or anything, the default Christian gesture was like always, I'll pray for you. Let me pray about that. I can pray for you. I'll pray for you. Let me pray for you. I don't have that anymore. So it's like if I can't give my time or resources to someone, there's nothing I have to offer them. And if I see someone like sick or in pain, or like, unless there's something medically I could do for them, which in most cases, there's not, because I'm not a doctor or anything, I have nothing to offer. And that's something that's kind of, when I look back on it, it's a little sad, because I miss that. I'm like, I always used to think I had something to offer the person. One of the biggest things I miss is believing that there's this all-loving, all-powerful God, the creator of the universe, who loves me, wants personal relationship with me, and that I can always count on, that'll always be there for me. That's one of like the biggest things. Anytime in my life when I had a tough decision to make, or I had like a job interview, or I'm going for a new advancement in life or whatever, my default thing that I would do about it is always pray about it. It would always be like the default thing I did. Anytime I got out of like a job interview, I would pray, God, help me to do well, to do my best. If it's your will, get me this job, help me to succeed, be with me, help me to understand. Anytime I was in a crisis in life, going to God would always be my default. Like, God, help me with this, help me through this, give me the knowledge I need to work through it, and all these things. And that was really comforting, like, to believe that, hey, there's an all-powerful, loving God who's on my side, who knows what I'm going through, and who's there to help me. And I really miss that. One of the other biggest things is the community. My best friends, like growing up outside of my family, and really most like my only friends were all from church. Just the whole church aspect and community, and having a group of people that are united in a common cause and like belief system is very beneficial, or at least can be. I mean, it can be negative if like you're judged by the group and stuff like that, but it can be very beneficial to like mental health and living with a purpose and helping you to feel meaning in life. That's definitely a big plus that I had back when I was a Christian. And I really miss, like, I've gone to churches a couple times as an atheist, visiting certain places. And when I do, it's like there is that aspect where it's like I can see how religion in this sense can be beneficial because it offers a community, and that's really important to just human well-being in general. I mean, having people that love and care about you, having people you can rely on that can help you when you're in trouble, and friends that are there for you. And the biggest thing is like they're all united with the same purpose and goal. And like in my church community, I mean, our goals were basically, we love Jesus. We want Jesus to be exalted. We want to see the kingdom of God be built on earth and things like that. So that was definitely a big aspect of my Christian life. So those are like a few of the biggest things I really miss about being a Christian. One of the other things, and this will probably be the last one I mentioned, was the times that I spent on my own the times that I thought I was spending with the Lord, just quiet times where I would worship God, I'd pray, I would put my worship music in the background, or I'd play my guitar and sing and just commune with the Lord. And I had those times where, I understand where people are coming from when they're like, well, it's a personal relationship with God. I mean, I know exactly what they're talking about when they say that, because I thought I had the exact same thing. And whether I did or not kind of depends on whether Christianity is actually true or not. So I'm not confident one way or the other. But that's definitely one of the biggest things I miss, because when you actually believe that you're communing with the creator of the world, the creator of the universe, the king of everything, who loves you and wants a relationship with you, like, that's pretty significant. It makes you feel like really special, like, hey, God's got me. Like, whatever happens in life, God's got me. Like, I'm going to be all right. And that was one of the other things I always thought that like would bring me comfort, is anytime something bad happens or things don't look good, it's like, hey, in the end, it's all going to work out great, because I'm going to be saved and I'm going to have eternal life with Jesus, and it's all going to be great. And, whatever happens to me now, it's like, yeah, terrible stuff might happen, but it's all going to work out in the end. And now, obviously, I realize that's just not necessarily the case. So, I mean, ultimately, we're all going to die. And whether you live a good life or a bad life is, somewhat dependent on you, somewhat dependent on circumstances and just happenstance. But that was definitely one thing I miss believing as well, because it really did give you like a sense of comfort. And the other thing was, and this is kind of like a selfish thing, so I'm probably going to be viewed negatively for thinking this, but I'm sure if at least some Christians were honest, they would agree with me, unless maybe I'm the only one who had a selfish side, I don't know. But when I was a Christian, especially like in my generation, everyone lives so what I would have considered worldly, and I lived this, what I viewed as a righteous life, and I didn't do things that like worldly people did, all these sins and stuff, and it made me feel like better about myself. It made me feel like, hey, I might not have, the most exciting life, the most fun life, and all these things, but I'm I'm a better person than them. Or maybe, I never would have said I was a better person, but inside I felt like I'm superior in a way. Just the way I live is superior, I guess is how I put that, because I don't do these sins and I live holy and to the best of my ability and to please God, and I'm not about all this, I'm not going to go into details, but all the sins that the church or the Bible would consider sinful and all that stuff. So in the sense of my self-esteem, that did give my self-esteem a little boost, I suppose. So that was just one other thing that I enjoyed about being a Christian. So I say all that to say, there's been people that are just confused, why in the world would you not be a Christian anymore? And it really boils down to, foremost, atheism is not a choice. You don't choose what convinces you of truth, and I'm simply just not convinced that Christianity is true, and I can't change my mind on that unless something else changes my mind. There's nothing I can do to change my own mind. So the only thing I could do is fake being a Christian, which I kind of talked about in my last video, I believe. And I don't think, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to promote something that I think is false. And there's some people, I heard someone say before, this person was a Christian and then they converted to atheism. Now they're all depressed and stuff. And it's the problem, and this is the emphasis I want to make, the problem is not with atheism. The problem is with the lie of Christianity. That's where the problem lies. Because people could be tempted to be so you should never convert someone to atheism or try to point out flaws in Christianity or something that could lead someone astray, because they might not have a better life or their life might get worse. But that's just not really logical when you think about it. Because the problem is not with the truth. The problem is with the lie. And from everything I can tell, Christianity is the lie. So that's where the problem lies. If we didn't indoctrinate kids and teach people something that's wrong in the first place, then none of that would have been necessary. And that's one of the biggest reasons for my channel in general, is if I can prevent what happened to me from happening to other people, then I'll consider that a success. I'll consider that at least I helped somebody not to go through what I went through and dedicate my whole life to something that's a lie, that's a deception. Because when you find out your entire life, money, time, resources, energy, focus was all given to something that's not true, there's almost nothing more devastating than realizing that. I'm just glad that I didn't waste any more of my time devoting it to something that wasn't true than I already did.